Hello, we've got a very kind of impromptu one here. I've just noticed something going on over the last few days, and I wanted to speak to the person who it's been going on to. So let's just crack on immediately. I want to introduce you to someone I've not met before. You may not have either. This is Sal Grover. Sal, hello. How are you doing?
I'm very well. Thank you. Can I just say there's like two things. I am like just so honored to be speaking to you. And then also beyond that, I just love your accent. So at any point, if I look like I'm going into a daze, it's just because I'm like, oh,
Oh, okay. That's great.
yeah.
That's really, thank you very much. Now I'm blushing. Um, Uh, Sal, you've had an interesting couple of days. It looks like to me. It looks like you're
Mm-hmm.
under attack. Can you tell me first of all who you are and what you do? Why that might
Okay.
come up?
Yeah, no problem. So I am the founder and CEO of Giggle, which is a female-only social networking app. It's an app for females all around the world for finding roommates, freelance work, connecting for emotional support, health reasons, activism, something simple like hobbies. Just we've got a bunch of different things. We're also currently building the next phase of it right now, which I'm like excited to talk about.
Okay.
And it's currently used in 84 countries around the world. We're still essentially in our testing phase. We're still like sort of baby phase of
Yeah.
Giggle. It was inspired by sort of I was a screenwriter in Hollywood, and then I had sort of a lot of Me Too things. And then when I moved to New York to get away from Hollywood, and I was looking for a room to rent. And I would get a lot of comments like, "Oh, you can live here if you walk like rent free if you walk around naked, or you can. Do you want a boyfriend as well?" And I was like, oh, "For God's sake, can we
Yeah.
just have one time when this doesn't happen?" So that was sort of where the idea started.
Okay. So it's a
Mm.
female only space online,
Yeah.
but
Mm-hmm.
is it open to people to let's say men who identify as female?
I know. Well, are they female? I mean, are they biologically female?
That's the bottom line. It's open to biological females and not
Yeah.
people who identify as female. Because
Mm.
it seems to me that female spaces. I'm going to illustrate this by showing some of the profiles that are on the dating website Her, which are,
I've seen
you
that. Yeah.
know, yeah, as I often point out to people, not even trans-identified, or at least they claim to be, but they're just men. They're just
Mm-hmm.
men. They've made less effort than I have. I have actually tried to make this hair look normal, but they don't do anything like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so it's quite the kind of trolling. It seems to be is extraordinary.
Yeah, yeah. I think, dude, and I've seen them as well. I've been watching it. I think that that's horrible for like trans women and trans men to have to see. Sort of that, that they're being, I would almost say, appropriated.
Mm, yes, mocked
And
almost.
yeah,
It
it,
people get angry at me for being lighthearted about all this stuff, but to me it looks like open troll. It looks like open trolling of women and the trans experience.
yes,
Yeah,
yes. I mean, like it's constant. I mean, everyone can. I do always say everyone can have a voice. I mean, you've got to allow everyone to have a voice so that you can know when you no longer want to listen to something. The moment I get called names, I block because I'm like that. We're not having a reasonable discussion anymore. I would never go and name call anybody. It's just not my nature. So I just block because I'm like, you've ended that any sort of chance of having just a rational adult conversation. I mean, we talk about it a lot here at Giggle HQ. Like, I mean, we cater to 50% of the population on the planet.
yeah,
And female spaces were actually fought for by women. They like everything else. The female toilets were not handed to women because it made logical sense. They were
mm.
fought for so that women could leave the house, so that they could go to work, and spend X amount of time just on the street if they wanted to, like just have a day
Yes,
out. I actually tweeted about this the other day. It's like I don't advocate for single sex spaces because I advocate for male only spaces as well, and I think there should be trans women only spaces, trans men only spaces. I think this is all very healthy to be able to just be in your community for a bit And then we go
Yes.
into our big, colorful, wild world, and we all coexist together. But it's nice to have what I call a refuge from our colorful, crazy world. So it's just, I don't advocate for single-sex spaces because they make me feel good.
Yeah.
I advocate for them because there is overwhelming evidence that society is better when they exist. And it might be something that you don't notice the impact of a single sex space in, say, maybe your very cosmopolitan little area that you live. And you might live in a really great, very privileged place. Not everyone does.
Yes. Yeah. I always find it interesting that UNICEF is fighting for sex segregation in undeveloped countries and is fighting to end sex segregation in developed countries. It's a very schizophrenic view.
I don't discriminate against anybody. I have no problem with any other person. I genuinely believe that trans rights are human rights. Trans people should have equal rights, but that does not mean that single-sex spaces should not exist. You can have every right that I have. Single-sex spaces still need to exist. I don't think that. I have trans friends. I talk to trans people on Twitter all the time. I've met a lot of fantastic trans women, especially actually during this journey. I talk to them a lot about different things. I'm like, I want to help advocate for your own spaces as well. I think that's really important. I don't think that it's fair that a trans woman has to go into a men's bathroom. I don't think that's right. But I don't think the solution is into a female bathroom either, because I talked to someone about one woman about this on Twitter the other day, because she has no problem with it. And I'm like, that's fantastic. And that's great for you. But you cannot force that upon somebody else who does have a problem with it. And that's what it comes down to. And doesn't come from a bigoted place. Yeah, I just want to be able to just have a refuge sometimes where I'm just talking to somebody about some of the messy issues that comes with being a biological female. There are just some messy issues with it, and we need to be able to have a voice in a calm and secure, safe, private environment. It's as simple as that. TED Talk London did the tweet the other day with the woman with the X, where the A should be.
Oh yeah.
And it was brutal what happened to them on Twitter the other day. But I did do a tweet about it because I said, this is just a made up word. It has no meaning. And somebody tweeted at me who was in support of the word. I don't even know how to pronounce women with an X, but I just said, like, someone tweeted at me and they said, all words are made up. And I was like, cool. How did you know which words to use to construct that tweet? Words actually do have meanings. We live in a society where we have an agreed upon stance that words have meanings. And sure, words can evolve. You can introduce new words, but again, they have to be agreed upon.
Yeah. If some of these words do get accepted, like for instance, the word cis, it will be against the wishes of a huge section of the population. And I don't think that's ever happened. I don't think that's, everyone eventually has said, all right, we'll call dogs, I don't know, plugs. We'll start doing that. That's okay.
That just reminds me. I actually, I think it was yesterday, I posted a picture. I always do a thing on Twitter after I've had a pylon. I do what I call it my timeline cleanse, and I'll post a cute picture of my dog. And someone commented underneath it saying, when are you going to have as much empathy for trans people as you do for dogs? And I was like, well, first of all, I don't compare them to dogs. And I never would.
Yeah.
I think that's quite a disgusting thing to say. But it's circular and it's designed that way. It's been they're all circular arguments. They're made so that absolutely nobody can win. They're not real discussions.
Yes.
There are real discussions out there with people that are trying to have them. And I think it's changing, to be honest. I really do. I think it's one of the things the awesome trans women that I talk to, I say, what can I do to help elevate your voice? You who want to be heard, to say, these activists who are kind of going crazy, they don't represent me. I'm like, they have such an important voice. It's not being heard right now.
I find it interesting that Australia is such a was such a macho country, or such a reputation for a macho country. But I always thought Australian men were. I thought all men would grow impatient and annoyed with having to say that 2 + 2 = 5. And I thought Australian men, most of all, would be like, what the fuck is this, mate? Sorry, there you go. That was. I thought I'd do one go with an accent.
Not nearly as good.
But they didn't. But it seems to be I noticed the story the other day about the woman who had to pay a £10,000 fine for liking a couple of tweets about a man.
But I think
what is the mood there like at the moment?
Well, I mean, that story sort of has shocked a few people. I think one really important thing to remember is it's not just like what's the mood sort of in Australia. It's what's the mood off Twitter. Twitter is a cesspool. It's not real life. And you know this for a fact because the people who will sit there and scream at you, they would not come up to you in the street and scream at you in the same way. It's just that it's not how real life works. In a way, I have empathy for that because I think that if you are someone who is being discriminated against or you're being treated poorly in your real life and the way you vent your frustrations out on that is into the void of Twitter, I can understand it. And I think that's a healthier thing to do than to actually do it to people in person, because that would just be confronting and horrible and the breakdown of society as we know it.
Society.
Horrible. It's completely possible to say that there is like sort of this group of people who are having a hard time and someone getting discriminated against, and also women are having a bit of a hard time. But one doesn't negate the other. They can coexist. We can all have more than one problem. It's one of the things like it's sort of like, it's like, say, like with being like a woman, like you're multifaceted, you're layered, you have so many different issues and so many different things you might need to get advice on or talk about or connect about or anything like that. It's the same just in society. There's not just this one group of people is more hard done by than the other. I mean, everybody has their plight, don't they? I treat people how I'd like to be treated. From
looking at your feed over the last few days and from speaking to you, it sounds like you kind of regularly get waves of hate. What's the nature of them? And
well, I'm having a little bit of
what kind of thing? Why are they angry at you?
Lots of reasons. Having a little bit of a break, actually. I've turned my phone off and my phone has been confiscated from me and I'm not getting it back for 48 hours. Because this morning I saw there was a tweet at me that said that I deserved to be sexually assaulted. And I was like, I'm out for a while. Nope, don't need to see it. Don't need to hear it. I don't. Right. It's not what I'm here for. I don't. That's not how I live my life. So there's a few reasons why I get hate. The first of all is that Giggle is female only. People have a problem with that. Lots of different groups do. Yesterday, men's rights activists discovered Giggle for the first time, and I was like, I've been waiting for you.
Yeah.
Finally, you've arrived. What took you so long? So they had a problem with me yesterday, and I think they're still going on about stuff. I've also had some people have an issue, and on Giggle we have a category for people to connect in what's called like a sex work category. It's not in the freelance work category. We're not soliciting prostitutes or anything like that. It's in, just because it's we chose where to put it is in the network and mentoring category, because it's sort of like it's an industry and a job like other things. I'm not advocating for sex work or anything like that. I'm also not in the business of determining whether or not a woman is capable of making the choice of entering into it. I think my position is that there are women in the sex industry. That is just a fact. I think that they should be able to connect for that reason, whether it's for advice, support, help, or mentoring to get out of it. I emotionally prepared myself for like you hate men, which I don't hate men, or you're transphobic. I'm not transphobic. I'm emotionally prepared for that. But the day that I got your child sex trafficking, I was not prepared for that. I don't spend a lot of time preparing to be accused of the worst crime you could possibly think of. So it was just, it was crazy. So people will come at me for that. And I'm like, well, and you go, what can we do? One of the things I said and there were women that were coming after me, and I said, well, you can sit here and scream about it on Twitter, or you can go onto Giggle and you can help and mentor women out of the sex industry. That's what it's there for.
Yes,
it's a tool to be used for that reason. So, it's your choice. And then I had people go after me yesterday because so they're ethical hackers.
Right.
And so I made the mistake of assuming straight away that it was just another attack, because
Right.
I mean that's just sort of where my instincts are with it, that just going to attack, because it happens every day. This is not like sporadically.
Yes.
So I did a tweet about it. I just said, look, I thought it was someone trying to like get business or something with Giggle, and I was like, attacking my views is probably not the best way to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I woke the beast. Basically, I was just inundated with this InfoSec community, and I'm saying to everyone, I was like, look, if there is anything that is wrong with the Giggle security, just send us an email. And I said this to hundreds of people. I received no emails, and I was getting caught at transphobe while this was happening as well. So the attacks were just coming. So I was just blocking everybody, and then everyone's just trying to help you. Why are you blocking? And I'm like, you're just random people on Twitter. I don't know who you are. Forgive me for being skeptical. While this was happening, obviously I told the Giggle security team this is what's happening, and they were able to go through and comb through Twitter and find out what was actually being said, and saw that there was actually a tiny vulnerability in our app security. And so this is a genuine thing that this community does do. And I'm actually it's turned out incredibly grateful for it. I found out that it was a real thing and great too late. And I sort of had put it out there that, I was just getting attacked. So I just sort of reacted how I do with any attack. And then it was just piling me. It's still happening. I'm just not looking at it. I apologized to the people who found it. I sent them an email this morning and said, I'm really sorry, because they're getting attacked as well from women, I think, who are saying don't sort of shit on a woman's business, which is not what they were doing. They actually did a really great thing. And so I sent them an email this morning saying, I'm really, really sorry. And had I known the reality, I would have handled this very differently from the beginning. Now, there's people on Twitter right now who are like wanting to know more about it. And I'm under no obligations to give you any information, but they act as if you are.
Yeah.
I'm like, what CEO goes, okay, cool, hang on, I'll get all the records out and I'll tweet them out so that you're satisfied. No, that's not how I do business. So no, we were able to find the security issue was, and we'd actually fixed it before they had, we'd actually had contact with this ethical hacker / digital security company. And so all is actually fine now.
But I know you mean what people don't understand about when you're the subject of these attacks is that you don't maybe operate at your best when you're being insulted 2,000 times a day.
No.
When people are calling you a bigot, when people are when that's their first stop. Yeah, I used to get complaints about sending rude texts to people. They'd always be taken out of context. They'd always be screenshot and stuff like that. But as I used to say to people, 99% of the people in this conversation open by calling me a bigot. And it's like I'm not going to be polite to someone calling me a bigot.
I'm not. My thing, how I go about it is because I just sort of I don't want the fight. I don't want the attack. So my thing is, if you're going to call me a bigot, you will be ignored. You get no attention from me. I will not engage with you. I don't care. And so that's what I was doing yesterday. I was just blocking everybody because people were saying, oh, she's a TERF, so she doesn't the TERF isn't going to protect anyone's security. And I'm like, no. So how do you take that as a professional conversation when that's how they're addressing you? So I think in a way, I think my reaction was completely rational. As actually the guy who turned out, we had a really nice conversation privately, as one is entitled to do. Good. And he said, it's Twitter, it will blow over in a few days. I'm like, of course it will. That's right. And we put a statement out saying, thank you, we're really grateful for it. And it was just when you're getting abuse at the same time as maybe someone is trying to help you, I just locked down. I was because of who's going to think, oh, yeah, you're genuinely trying to help me.
Yeah.
This is not my first rodeo. I also date men, so I know when it feels safe to trust them or not. If you slide into my DMs and it's a thing called a bitch, and TERF's just the new version of bitch, slut, whore, any of that. And so I've written about it in the past. I'm like, we've survived those names. We'll survive this one too.
Yeah. I must say it's really great to speak to you, because like you just don't sound like it sounds like it's all just bouncing off you. Like,
I'll say, I'm not gonna lie, I've cried quite a bit today for the first time in a while. And I also and my I was like, the Giggle HQ team, they said for me, they were like, you know what, even soldiers in battle get some rest. They like, go. And one of my girlfriends, she was so lovely, she took me temping bowling. So I've actually been temping bowling today, just to reset, just to be like, because basically part of the inspiration behind Giggle.
Yeah.
It was just because you've got to remember, like, okay, so single sex spaces, no matter what, single sex spaces will prevail. They will win. Women have been handed nothing. We fought for everything we've gotten. We've never given up anything without a fight. As if we're going to give them up. It's just not going to happen. We're just going to create our own. You can't make it illegal to create a space. You can't do that. Yeah. And the natural progression is that they will go online.
Yeah,
of course they will. And so, like I do joke sometimes, like when people say, like, what about if someone created a men's only app? I'm like, do it.
Fire away. Yeah.
Do it. First of all, like Giggle, we named it Giggle because Giggle is the collective noun for a group of girls. The collective noun for a group of women is Gaggle, but that's also the collective noun for a group of geese. So it's not just ours. So we went with Giggle because also it's just sort of more fun, and it was quite playful. And I was like, even though I did a bit of an eye roll at first, I was like, of course, that's what they called us. I was like, well, what a cool way to sort of reclaim it and be like, we know how powerful a group of girls are when they're together. So we'll just show it. The collective noun for a group of boys is a plush. So go make your app. I gift it to you. Like, I think it would be great. Arguably, there is already a men's only internet. It's called 4chan.
Or I would argue it's just called the internet, because it seems to me that the internet is policed by abusive men at the moment in the form of Twitter engineers and all that sort of.
Did you see I think it was in March, Tim Berners-Lee, who invented the World Wide Web, he came out and said, the internet's not working out great for women and girls. And we're all sitting there going, men, there's more men on Reddit, there's more men on Twitter, Facebook, all of these different things. There's more men on them because a lot of the reasons are, I've done a lot of research into this, women don't want to deal with it. I didn't until Giggle. I had a Twitter account. And I would read news. I would follow different people. I would, especially like comedians. I love a good Twitter joke. I think they're really fun. But I did not do anything. I never tweeted. I only started because people were telling lies about me. So I was like, okie dokie, let's buckle up. I have a voice. I'm not afraid to use it. And so that's how I sort of started. The moment I can, I will delete this thing.
Yeah. Twitter took care of that for me. So
that's ridiculous. But do you watch it? It's just there was. You saw the woman that recently as well, the one in San Francisco who got fired from her job because of her Twitter account. And I've talked to her quite a bit, and she's just like the loveliest person, and just this poor girl, what she's gone through. There was one person who went after her, and I was watching it and said probably one of the most disgusting tweets I've ever read. What they tweeted at her, it was so vile and so vulgar, and I was like, how can that be allowed?
Yeah.
There's a huge double standard here, and you're right. Because men are making the rules. Men have no problem with women being piled on. Never have. There's us. There are some. There's exceptions, obviously but these particular ones, men on a whole are pretty good people. Don't get me wrong. I'm not someone who sits there and hates on men, but I do think that there are issues in society where it is, there's just some things that just aren't getting fixed in the way that is actually improving things.
Yeah. Well, I think that your app sounds like, I don't know, it might be one brick in a nicer internet. So I'm really delighted it exists.
Thank you. That's basically that's sort of what we think as well. I'm so excited. I get it tomorrow. Actually, we've got some really, really exciting things we're about to launch, and one of them, it's called Giggle Talk. It will just be another new feature on the app, and it is a public forum within the app where you can state your voice and your opinion and have conversations without men around.
Yeah. Well, as soon as I heard about it, I thought, oh yeah, of course you're getting abused, because if there's one thing men hate, it's the sign on the clubhouse door saying no boys. They have never been able to get out over it from when they were kids.
Thing. I said this to someone the other day. I said, Grindr exists. I accept it's not for me. It's fine. It's totally fine. It should exist for the people who want to use it. That's cool. I think, it's interesting that Grindr doesn't have the issues that Her has.
No, that is interesting. Yeah. Although, does it? I hear it's becoming a slight problem now that trans men are. Well, in the sense that these poor kids, these poor women have been conditioned into thinking that gay men will literally accept them as men. I think that it's been leading to a few problems here and there, and I think it's beginning to gay men are beginning to think, hang on a second.
I wonder if that becomes louder, if that will sort of be one of the conversation changes, because sometimes we can ignore the hysterical women in the corner. They're just hysterical and crazy. They're just us gals. We've always got something to bitch about. But maybe when sort of somebody within like the LGBT community, and especially let's say the leaders of it, the gay men, the ones that they come out and go, hang on a second, we've got a problem here. Maybe they will get listened to.
You never know. I mean, as you point out, the women certainly aren't getting listened to. It's just been such a journey today. I'm not too proud to say I'm new to the tech world. I was a screenwriter in Hollywood. This is not my world. I wrote romantic comedies. That career was taken away from me because of sexual harassment and sexual assault. And I was very, very angry about that for a really long time, until when it was my mum and I, when we were just having some conversations and we got the idea for Giggle and we started developing it, that I realized that all of the stuff that I wanted to do with my writing, which was always just I would write movies about strong yet flawed, independent women. Most of the time, they didn't end up with the guy at the end, so none of them got made because the execs would turn to the Bahas page and be like, "There's no man on this." Yeah, I wanted to write the sort of the modern day happy ending, where the romantic comedy was this woman that had this great relationship, but part of it, the journey for her was finding that she was better off without this problematic guy in her life. I sort of would always try and flip it. Anyway, but that career was taken away from me. And so when I started developing Giggle and everything, I became at peace with that, because I realized that I just only ever wanted to really do positive things for women. And so I just do it in a different way now. So I'm not some tech genius who I don't code. I have a team of coders. They wouldn't let me near it. I wouldn't know what to do. No, I have experts who do that. I mean, no one person knows how to do everything. I have the ideas, and I sit there and I draw them when I will literally, and I'm not even an artist, I will draw these ridiculous pictures and they're stick figures and everything, and then I'll hand them to the professional people going, make my dream a reality, please. Yes,
they do, because they're amazing, and that's their talent. Yeah, so I'm new to this. I've never been a CEO of a company before this. I don't make perfect decisions every single day. I was almost today going to, because I was so distraught, and I was almost going to reschedule this, and then I thought, no, I'm not going to, because I'm actually always very honest about what it's like to run Giggle, and trying to tell girls, because I don't like that Instagram reality of just be your own boss and it's amazing and be empowered. No, it's so hard. It is so hard. And some days it's harder than others. And you just sit there and you're just getting absolutely piled on. And it can not even be a Twitter thing. It can just be like an actual workday thing, and people are yelling at you, and you've made the wrong choice in something, or you've angered somebody in the real world, and it's so much responsibility. So I think it's important to say, like, no, yeah, it's not always smiles and laughter and giggles.
Yeah. But when you say ethical hackers, like that is a nice term for them. But if there's ethical hackers calling you TERF and stuff, then they're not that ethical, So I wouldn't feel too bad.
That was the confusing thing. Like, and I did talk to them, and I said, had you just emailed Giggle, our email address is on our website. It's so easy to find. Had you just emailed Giggle and said, this is who we are, who's the person to contact about this, completely different scenario. But because the issue was conflated with the TERF thing and then a security issue, I shut down. And I did say to one guy who was just relentlessly private messaging me, I just said, and they were saying, like, unblock these people, you're so disrespectful to this community. And I was like, one, no, I don't unblock anyone who's called me a transphobe. It's the same for everyone. It's a blanket thing. I don't care who you are. But also, if we want to talk about security, I also have my own security for me as a person. I don't do business on Twitter. So if someone wants to engage with me in a business manner, doing it on Twitter is not the way you're going to be able to do that, because Twitter is a place where I get trolled, and I sit there and make sure the truth is out there. That's all it is to me. And then I read funny things because I like funny people.
Right.
That's pretty much it. So I will say, I will defend the ethical hacker community in that what they actually do is awesome. And the guy that I was emailing with today, he said, he apologized because he said that they were not expecting this pylon. And he was like, we both learned some lessons. I'm like, yeah, we did. Exactly. And that isn't a part of it. I learn lessons every day. Today was a huge learning day. I do think sometimes you are held to a little bit of a higher standard. Like, everything has to be perfect when you're a woman. You're supposed to be perfect at all times. I'm not. And I don't try to be. I would rather break that tradition rather than try to live up to it. I'm like, nope, sometimes I'm going to fuck up.
Well, I hope you don't have many learning days ahead of you, because it sounds like they're rough. It sounds like they're rough going. But it's a brilliant service, and I really hope it's a success. Well, I assume it's a brilliant service because I'm not allowed on it. Thanks.
You're not allowed on it.
No,
you're not. Yeah, it's one of those things. Sometimes, it sometimes gives men a break as well.
maybe. I wouldn't like to push that angle.
You can't, but I can.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, sometimes, my poor dad. My dad is my intern. That's his official title. That's what he does, and he does understand coding and things like that. So he does he just sits there and guides me during the day. And my mum is the co-director of Giggle, so 90% of the time it's a very family orientated environment, and my poor dad is just surrounded by just girl talk constantly. The other day, my mum and I were talking about Harry and Meghan, and Dad chimed in and had an opinion on it, and we were like, go for a motorbike ride.
It's really, I'm just delighted to hear that it's going so well, and
thank you so much.
Yeah, and if there's ever anything that you'd like to get out there to my, 20 subscribers, then
I watch them. I read every email that you send.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, that's okay.
You were someone I follow because I like funny things on Twitter. That's the best part of it. I
used to love following. There are all sorts of funny people out there, but they've all been indoctrinated, they're
all very political now.
Yeah, I guess. I think.
There's still a few accounts. There's still a few accounts where it's just it's just a funny joke, and I cool. Make me laugh. I like that.
I do miss funny jokes. Not that they were nice when they happened.
Yeah. I'm really excited about Giggle Talk when we launch it. And so we'll start testing it internally in the next 24 hours. But that it could be a place where a girl can just go and tell a joke and have people
Yeah.
read it and not
Yeah.
pile on her about it. I think that's probably the thing I'm the most excited about, or just, or not lose a job over it.
Yeah. Well, that would be an improvement. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
It would.
Sal, thank you so much for speaking to me, and I hope
thank
you'll. Yeah, it'd be lovely to speak to you again at some point. And
Yes,
and
definitely.
keep
We'll
us
give
up
you
to
updates.
speed with how it's going. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, definitely.
Wonderful.